Hi, how are you doing today? Let's take a look at some high impact strategies. We're going to start off with turn and talk. I'm Michael Zook and I will be here and we will check it out together. I'm going to give you some tips and strategies to make it work for you and your classroom. We all know that we have to address a couple of things behind our beliefs before we actually act differently. So I wanted to take a look at some of the beliefs that I have behind implementing turn and talk and why it's so effective. Number one, we know that all kids benefit from verbal processing, not just some kids, that every single child in your classroom would benefit from time talking and having verbal processing time. We know that when students take time to talk it out before they write, they always write more freely. We often have to discuss things many times before we come out with a final product, so we want to give them time and opportunity to speak before they get moving on their writing. All kids have voice. I really believe that every student has a voice. They have a story to tell, and we don't always know what that is, but every kid has a voice. They have something to bring to the table, and our job as educators is to try to bring that out in them in every way that we have possible. Also, I really am a firm believer that students have to own their own learning. We are not here to do anything but facilitate students' learning, and this gives them a chance to take a hold of their own learning and to move forward with it in an effective and impactful way. Also, I know that all students can process at high levels. We have to provide that for them. We have to do what we can to provide them the tools that they need, and talking and listening are huge parts of that strategy. Let's take a look here. Let's dive right in. Let's start with step one. Step one, what are we going to do? Well, we are going to select the question that we want our learners to answer. Now, we know that we have a variety of questioning strategies. We have a lot of things going on, but one of the things that I really want to encourage you to do is to use a higher order question, something that's going to elicit more of an analytical response, more of an open-ended response. So we really want to think through the question that we use here, because it's going to generate the student response that we have both verbally, and then as you produce that into something that is trackable, maybe a written work or something that they speak out as a table. One of the things that we've been working on, obviously, is always a big deal. We're talking about writing, so let's tackle that with a question of how can a rubric help your writing? Now, I may rewrite that question a couple times. I don't really like the word help here, but we're going to take this one and we're going to drive it all the way through our process here. We're going to dive into step two now. So this is all about identifying a partner for the students. I know that often sometimes we let the students choose their partner. That's up to you, but I really encourage having a structure in your classroom for your students. So we're going to talk about things like elbow partner, right? So somebody that's at their elbow, and then A-B partner. So you might have somebody be A and have them identify themselves, and have somebody be B and identify themselves there. You also can have a shoulder partner, so whoever's at your shoulder, a knee partner if they're across from the knee. So lots of different ways to identify partners, but make sure that you are still identifying a partner and that everybody has a partner, and that should be done really quickly, as quick as possible. Let's not belabor the point and go through a long, slow, drawn-out process. Again, remember, we're using a higher order thinking question, so just keep that in mind. Step three, let's dive on into step three. Let's just be honest. First, put a timer on the board, all right? Let's make sure that we have limited our students' number of times and amount of time that they're going to talk. We want to make sure that we keep our students on a fast pace, and that they feel the urgent pressure of things moving quickly in our classroom. We also want to maybe provide some sentence stems for them, and also maybe even identify which partner is going to use which sentence stem. So maybe partner A says blah blah blah, partner B says blah blah blah. But always, when you're doing sentence stems, think about what the thinking part of it is, and that's the part that you want them to fill in, not all the filler words. So for instance, with the writing rubric, you could say something like, a writing rubric helps me when I use the part of the writing rubric blank to help inform my writing blank. So think about that and make sure you use some powerful sentence stems to help support all of your learners. This is step four. We're going to allow the students to write a response to the exact same question. Now there's Many ways that you can do this, but one of the biggest things to remember here is to use the exact same question that you did previously. So our question, if you remember it from earlier, is really how can a rubric help, and I probably would change that word at least at this point to inform, right? Because I said that we could make a better choice there. Our writing, right? So we're going to allow the students to write a response to this exact same question. You can use a sticky note, you can use a note card, you can even share everybody share their response into the table and one person respond out. You can have them write it in their journal. There's a variety of ways, but one of the things you want to make sure that after your turn and talk is that you have something in place where they actually have to physically write something down, or they have a product that they need to produce and they have to share it with somebody. So you want a product and you want them to share it with somebody else. So make sure that you have those two things, a product and that it is shared, right? Because we all are longing to share our work with other people. So make sure that you have that for them. Who is this strategy for? This strategy is for everybody. We're here for all learners all of the time. Let's just be honest though, this really strongly supports any of our struggling learners. We're talking about kids that have a difficult background. We're talking about kids that maybe are coming to your classroom with learning disabilities, or kids that have language barriers that are preventing them from accessing the material. We can talk and we can benefit from that, and by doing that we'll produce thinking learners that own their learning in our classroom. Thanks for watching our high impact strategy of Turn and Talk. I hope it does some awesome things for you in your classroom. You can find me at Zook Talks on Twitter or zooktalks.wikispaces.com. Thanks for watching.